With most synthesizers, you can turn them on and immediately start playing. They're pre-routed in a fixed working architecture. But with modular synths, you start with nothing. It's only when you patch the individual modules together that you can create sound. The advantage of modular is that you have complete freedom in how you put the synthesizer together. This episode introduces the basics of modular synthesis using a prototype of the Matson Mini Modular. You start with nothing, so the first thing to do is create a working patch. With any modular, you need to input a control signal to play. You can use an analog synth with CV gate outputs, or a MIDI keyboard run through a CV converter. The Matson has a converter built into the same module housing the power supply. The CV output goes to the oscillator controlling pitch, while the gate goes to the envelope controlling volume when routed to the amplifier. Once the oscillator is routed to the amp, you have a working, albeit simple, patch. No filter, no LFOs, but it's a start. Now I'll insert the filter into the signal chain. This modular has low, band, and high pass options with cutoff, resonance, and CV control. If I want the envelope to control both the amp and the filter, I'll need to use a buffered splitter since I only have one envelope output. Nearly all modulars have some sort of multiple or a way to split signals. The Matson is a bit different in that it isn't a multiple, it's a buffered splitter that avoids degrading the signal, with cascaded outputs providing up to 8 outputs on one signal. Plug into channel 1 and you get 2 outputs, which are then carried over to the remaining channels for a total of 8. But plug into channel 2 and you interrupt the cascade. You still get channel 1 outputs, but channel 2 will have the remaining 6. I'll plug the envelope out into the buffered splitter and route that to the filter and envelope. The Matson oscillator module has 3 waveforms: triangle, square, and saw. Each have independent outputs plus an octave switch. The triangle switch is the master octave control, and you can either keep the other waves in unison, or you can drop the square wave 1 or 2 octaves, and the saw can be brought up an octave. Now I'm going to bring the mixer into the chain, routing all 3 waveforms to the mixer, and then the mixer to the filter. The oscillator has a separate mod input, which can be used with the LFO for vibrato effects or with the envelope for pitch bends. Now, if you have 2 oscillator modules, you could also do frequency modulation. I only have 1 oscillator module, but the second LFO does go to the audible range, allowing for some FM effects. The LFO has both a rate and symmetry control. You can shift the square wave to various pulse widths, and shift the triangle to a saw and a reverse saw. There's also a sample and hold module. If you route noise or an LFO into it, you get a random or semi-random output. This is what it sounds like when routed to the filter. A modular synthesizer can also function as an effects processor. You can route bass or guitar or drum loops or anything you'd like, and then process the signal either with its filter or through the ring modulator. Ring modulation is when you take an audio signal and you modulate its amplitude with another audio rate signal. And here's a couple examples of what it can do just with the mini modular itself. Now here's a drum sequence that I made using a Roland Phantom. I'm going to run it through the amplifier and then route the triangle wave from the oscillator module and then change the pitch of that triangle wave as the drum beat goes through it. Alright, I'm going to try running a guitar through the modular. Don't laugh, I'm not a guitarist. But first with no effects, no filter, nothing like that. And then I'm going to run it through the filter. Now I'm going to run it through the filter modulated by a triangle LFO. Alright, I'm going to take the filter out of the chain and then run distorted guitar just straight through. Now I'll modulate its volume using a square wave LFO for tremolo. The key to getting the most out of a modular synthesizer is to fully integrate it into the studio. Don't just use it for bass or leads or harmonic stuff. Use it as a percussion generator, as an effects processor, and everything you can, and then you'll see what the true value of having one in the studio.